Here we are just entering June in Melbourne, Victoria, and in my garden today I have got lots of little jobs to do. So I'm going to start with taking some cuttings of this native hibiscus that we had at our front garden. This is apparently my husband's favourite plant, he says, and it was being shaded out by the daisies in the front and got all leggy. So I decided to take some cuttings and grow some more and keep on top of them, trim them as they grow, and have some nice bushy plants for him so he can have more than one. If you've been watching my other videos, you may already know that I ordered a whole lot of vegetable mix, gardening mix in, and I haven't been all that happy with it. It's quite anaerobic, doesn't take up the water too well. So I'm not really confident it's that good. It had a nice big price tag on it, but we will see, time will tell. But in the meantime, I am using it in pots to grow things and for some cuttings that are pretty easy to strike. So apparently this is easy to strike, my mother assures me, as this is where I got the plant from in the first place. Just to be sure, I'm going to use the aloe vera as cutting compound and give it a little bit of an extra chance and pop it in these pots of soil. But I've mixed in with it some perlite, so it just makes it a little bit lighter. When I take the cuttings, I have aimed for around 5 leaf nodes. So there's 5 little sections, and I've cut on an angle just below a leaf node, and I'm removing the leaves off before I pop it in the compound or in the aloe vera. And I use a stick to break up the soil before I push it in so it doesn't all rub off. It's a pretty simple process, and if you haven't taken cuttings before, I highly recommend you try it because it isn't that difficult. Some things might be a little bit fussy and might need to be put on heat, but there's a lot of plants that you pretty much push them into the ground and they will grow. So we're hoping this is one of those plants. And as I'm recording this, putting this video together for you, I can tell you that these cuttings are looking mighty fine about a week later, and so I think we've got a pretty good chance that they are going to grow. Now if you just caught that, I do scrape the ends of the plant as well. I scrape it back to the cambium layer, which is the layer that when it hits the soil it will grow out the roots from it. So I have done that, and I will do that for each of the cuttings. I have to say I'm absolutely loving having a potting station now. Before I got this bench, I was working on the veranda, which is sheltered, and this is not, but it's really nice to be out in the sun getting my vitamin D and having this lovely big bench to work on. I'm feeling like a real gardener. And not only that, I've got everything all together now. So all that composting, or major composting, and where we shred things and, you know, just pretty much the junk area is all together in the one place. So I've got the potting station now, and it just is very industrious area of the yard, but it's all in one spot now, which is very handy. So I'm looking forward to building the compost more now that I've got it all together, and as I'm collecting resources and as I collect around the garden, it's all going into the one area. It makes it much more easy to bring it all together or be inclined to do so. was to move out into the front garden. That's my area just near the road, and there is a couple of sections to this. I've started an experimental bed on the nature strip, but this is my front area, which has taken me years to get going. It had two massive gum trees out the front, and now there's one massive gum tree and one has gone, and the council so graciously planted another one. But it has been a real trial to get anything to grow under them. So I have tried to improve the soil, but I haven't spent as much time on that as the vegetable section. But it took us many years to get it going, and we got it going with mainly natives. Lots of daisies are in there, and that has moved it a little, and I've chopped and dropped in there. I have added gypsum and a couple other things in there, some nitrogen, and the soil is getting better, but it still needs a lot of work. Now there's a spot right here that I'm strategically planting a camellia. I saw this little camellia tuber with the most beautiful pink flower on it, and I imagine that as a large tree being absolutely beautiful out front, but I've strategically placed it where it might also block the view from the neighbouring houses across the road from looking directly down through into my side garden, just to add a bit of privacy. There's a dog across the road, which you probably hear in some of my videos, that as soon as I step outside my front door, it barks, and it drives me mad. So I'm trying to create some sort of barrier between visually that might just, help. So this little camellia is going to take a long time to grow, I know, but the dog's been barking for years, so I'm a patient woman. So we'll just get it going. So in it goes, and I have given it a bit of blood and bone to help it along, but I will be nurturing them a bit with adding to the soil to really get it moving for obvious reasons. So moving across into this area, you can see it's pretty bare. There is a small pepper plant in there, a native pepper, that will grow bigger, but it hasn't yet. And I'm going to plant a finger lime in front of it. So that will kind of fill up that gap a little bit. The irrigation is in there, but I'm going to still have to remember to run a line from that irrigation so it's got a little bit of a drip watering system going on it. So this is the finger lime. It's one of the strawberry ones. I have never had or even tasted one before, so I'll be patient and wait till it fruits, and then I'll get to try it. Now the ground here was very hard, and I got all the tools out. I mean, I could have got a pick to it, but I figured it's a native, and if I give it a good start here, I've got some soil that's going to go in there that's got lots of bits and pieces in it, and some blood and bone, so bone meal for it in there. I'll give it a good water, and then I will do the same as I'm going to do with the camellia, and just keep an eye on it and keep adding things. I'll probably put some chicken pellets, manure pellets on there as well, and give them a good feed, and give the rest of the garden a good feed as well. So now that the daisies and the other plants are filling up this garden, I'm trying to get some more edibles into the front as well. So I do have a fig that's struggled along, and it's still growing, and I've got some elderberries, chives, and some walking Egyptian onions in there, but I'm now going to focus on feeding it more and getting into pockets with food and having the irrigation in there now is making a difference as well, because this garden would get dried out and neglected water-wise, so I didn't really hand water much. It kind of survived on its own with the rain and only got a bit of summer watering. So now I can have it regularly watered. It should be happier. I need more soil, so I went and got some more soil, and I also got some mulch that I had a pile on the driveway and topped it up with the mulch. The video is a little interrupted because my husband was back and forth, but we got it, or I got it, watered, both of them, watered in really well with the watering can, and just to make sure that they were well soaked before I walked away. So the garden does need some work here. I do need to get in there and cut back some daisies and things, but those plants in there, I know they're doing well, because see this little one here, that has self-sown from this one. They are regenerating, or creating little babies in the mulch now, so I know that that is starting to work. This is a edge of a neighbouring property where the stones are, and that bit of wood is where it divides our properties. So I'm thinking I'll probably put some canna edulis along there, so I have a border of edible cannas. And this is the native hibiscus plant that I got the cuttings from, that we just potted up. And even though I took some cuttings off it, it will need a haircut as well. This is the ginormous tree out the front, and I will give you a dedicated video on the experiment that I did beside it on the nature strip. So I have found it successful too, so it was a really good thing to try. So I'll share it with you later, but these little seedlings are proof. So it's self-sowing as well. Not that I want any more growing at the front though. Last job for tonight is in bed 3 and throughout the garden. I have got caterpillars having a good old munch on the brassicas. So I'm throwing out rolled oats. I was told that helps and deals with them, and it seemed to have helped a lot actually. So I do still have to have my words with the aphids and deal with them as well, but so far rolled oats seem to be the answer for the caterpillars. So shout out to Craig Catstry, a Melbourne gardener, for that tip. But look at those aphids. So I squash them. I usually squash them with my fingers, but they could do with a bit of soapy water, I think, as well. Okay, I can't help myself. While I'm cooking tea, I have to deal with this lemon verbena. It's been sitting there drying in a vase for weeks, and so these crispy leaves just snap off nicely, and I'll pop them all in a bowl and process them when my husband's not sleeping. So that is another job out of the way for today. And this lemon verbena, when it's ground up, it will be lovely on meals. I'm getting quite used to using lemon myrtle on food, so I imagine this will be very similar. Now I don't have a lemon verbena plant. This was gifted to me at a garden tour that I did in in Kilsyth it was. So that was lovely to bring that home. And can I tell you, when I was snapping these off, they smell so good. You can smell the lemon scent. They're so good. And how good is it that we can take a branch off a tree and harvest all of that, and that'll last, who knows, it'll probably last 12 months or more. I know that herbs lose some of their flavour over time, but that is going to last a long time once it's ground up on meals, flavouring meals. And I just think plants are just so amazing. But to be able to grow it yourself or share it with someone else is just such a blessing. Well, it's getting late, so I'm getting the chooks in and collecting the flowers that I cut while I was getting the cuttings, bring them inside and get my fluffy jacket on and have my dinner. But thanks for joining me, and I hope to see you next time.